Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we live? Should be live. Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. Good morning, good morning. Happy Monday. Looks like just as I was coming on here, I potentially missed a short setup right here. We have the delta crossing under the confirmation line, and the signal pulled up into the red zone and ticked down with a negative delta. So that is potentially a short setup. Well, it is a short setup. We have the hourly bearish, the 15-minute bearish. In the 5-minute, we are actually bullish there, but I do see a little bit of chop potentially setting in on the 5. Let's see if I could potentially jump in a short here. And we are ticking up from the green zone, and we do have a positive slope on the delta here, so it's a little risky. We also have a little bit of chop setting in on the 1. That's that alternating delta from negative to positive to negative to positive. I think I missed that short setup though. That was this tick down right. Well, I suppose if you're getting in on the close of that candle, what I was trying to do is I was trying to short from this order block up here. Just because it's still first 15 minutes of the open and it can be pretty volatile here, so I try not to buy big candles. I think I might just let this one go though. Canceled my order. Just we'll wait, be patient, let it work itself out here. Looks like it would have, so far, looks like it's playing out. I did take one trade earlier in pre-market today. It was a good one. I shorted this lower high from the power zone. Risk reward ended up being 15.84, the total of 75 points. And we had a nice impulsive move down. You can see that in the delta candles right here. So they get thicker and thicker as it comes down. So because of that, I held and waited until we closed above the delta right here. That was my exit. I didn't really have a clean entry set up. We never really got a delta squeeze out of it, so I never went long. Also, I wasn't actually around during this time, so. But yeah, that looks like that short would have been a good one had I been ready for it. Check out the hourly. On the hourly, we've been in this downtrend. If you could have shorted up here when the delta crossed under that confirmation line, somewhere in this vicinity, it was kind of choppy over here. But if you could have jumped into one of these, that was a really nice move down on the hourly. But the delta is now starting to cross back above this confirmation line, which means we should be starting to turn a little bit more bullish on the hourly. Hopefully we get a little bit of a double bottom here and then start heading up. Let's check out the 15. On the 15, you can see we've been in this sustained downtrend, but we do have the delta coming up. Almost made it in the upper half, not quite. We have crossed back under the confirmation line, but that could just be temporary. This could still be pretty bullish here. Jump over to the 5. On the 5 minute, we are above that confirmation line, so we are bullish on the 5. So now we be patient and wait for a setup on the 1. The chat's pretty quiet. Anybody here? I know it's Monday. Kind of hard to get going sometimes on a Monday. Now we do have a little bit of bullish divergence here. We have lower lows on the price, and we have a higher low on the signal line. Something to be aware of. Hey guys, good morning. How are you today? Anybody take any trades yet? So we have bullish divergence here, but this confirmation, or I'm sorry, the delta doesn't really coincide with that right now. We have a negative slope on those delta candles, and they are still pretty bearish. So the sellers are still overpowering the buyers. But yeah, if you would have taken, this is a signal from the playbook. You wait for that cross. You wait for the signal to come up after the cross and tick down from that red zone. So your short would have been right here. Stop going over the high if you want to risk that much. It's kind of a lot right there. That's risking 120 ticks, 30 points, which is why I was trying to grab the short for more up here. And if I would have been ready for that and caught this wick right there, that would have been really nice. If I had done that, we'd be up another, looks like 41 points at this point, counting. 50 points. Let's check out the news today. Oh, it looks like my news counter is not showing up. Hold on a second. Can you see that now? Can you see my trading timer? Yeah, I think that's on the screen now. Okay, so for high impact news today, we don't really have too much. Nothing in the USD currency. Everything's medium impact. Tomorrow, however, for Canada, we have CPI, which is high impact for Canada, maybe not so much for the US. Building permits tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. I'm on Central Time. So not a whole lot going on. We'll see if this 5-minute stays bullish here. Looks like it's gaining more momentum to the downside, so we'll see if it ends up back under that confirmation line. The hourly and the 15 are still bullish, so I'm sorry, they're still bearish. Starting to get we're flashing our second higher low, the green triangle down here in the power zone. If I was still short, if I had got into that short trade, I'd probably be exiting right here. Just because we got two higher lows and we have the delta tapering right there. Which indicates that those buyers are trying to step back in. Went ahead and jumped in a long here at 5:15. Reason why I went for a long there is because this delta's tapering and we have two higher lows in the power zone. So far it's not cooperating. That delta is starting to gain more strength back to the downside. So if we tick down here, I'm going to pull the plug. It's trying to climb back up. We did tick down, but it was at my break even. And I do see the delta starting to flash positive, so I'm going to stay in. That's telling me that the buyers are starting to overpower those sellers. Now we got to keep in mind that that delta is still under that confirmation line, and that confirmation line has a negative slope to it, which means that on the 1 minute we're still bearish. So we got to keep a short leash on this. We see any sign for continuation of the downside, we're going to get out. "10 seconds until 9 o'clock. So the 9 o'clock candle could change things. Keep in mind, we still have bullish divergence here. We still have these lower lows on the price, and we have these higher lows on the signal. Multiple higher lows on the signal. That delta is actually starting to turn up now, positive. So the buyers, at least for now, are in control. Go ahead and move my stop to break even. Delta's getting stronger, still turning up to the upside. See if we can make it back up to VWAP up there. Be nice if we could climb above it. So far we're up about 40 points. That delta is still gaining strength. Delta candles are getting thicker. That's what we want to see. We want to see those fat delta candles. All right, back up to VWAP now. Now we're up about 50 points. Probably not a bad spot to take profit if you're in this trade. It's a beautiful bullish divergence play with all these higher lows down here in the power zone. All right, we're trying to get it back above that VWAP now. As long as these delta candles are getting thicker and thicker, there's no reason to get out. But if you want to secure profits, it's never a bad idea. About 65 points now. Still gaining momentum on that delta. That delta looks like it wants to climb back above the confirmation line and turn things bullish again. All right, delta's starting to taper a little. We are ticking down from that upper power zone. That is a signal for me to take profit here. And I'm out. Looks like we got 64 points exactly on that one. All right, so far not a bad Monday. These are the exact types of moves that we want to see here. We want to see things swinging. We don't want to see things just chopping sideways. That's the thing about this cumulative delta strategy is amazing as long as the price is moving. If the price is chopping sideways and you have a thin, spotty delta that isn't going anywhere, then, well, at that point, you would put your chop box on the screen and you would try to stay out. Trying to force trades when things are chopping is never a good idea. But as long as the price is moving, the strategy is amazing. We are ticking up in that upper power zone. I don't like to take trades up there unless the delta is like really thick. And those buyers are just really overpowering the sellers. That may be the case here, but I've already secured my bag, so I'm going to wait for the next setup. That's typically why we have this upper section colored in red, is so that it psychologically should help prevent you from wanting to go long up there. Vice versa on the bottom. You really want to go long from the green zone. You want to go short from the red zone, typically. Not all the time. Depends on the setup, depends on the market condition, depends on what's going on. Depends on what the delta's doing. All right, so look right now, we have the delta tapering. We're getting a lower high. We're flashing a lower high. It's not confirmed yet. Still not confirmed. That delta, this could be a short setup. It's a little more risky just because this delta has so much momentum and such a steep positive slope to it. So, but it is tapering, and you are getting that lower high from the power zone. So it is a valid short setup. Still isn't confirmed yet, but it is a little risky because we did make it above VWAP, and like I said, this does have such a aggressive positive slope to it. You're probably better off just waiting for the next long setup. Keep in mind the 5-minute still bullish over here. Trying to turn the 15-minute bullish. We are ticking up on the 15. The 15 is positive, but it's kind of a sketchy place on the 15. We do have chop setting in on the 15 right here. It's that thin alternating delta. But the 15 doesn't matter as much when you're taking entries on the 1. The 1 takes priority. The 5 is the next priority, the 15's next, and then the hourly's next. It's nice to have all the time frames so that you can try to hold for bigger moves on the higher time frames, or if you're trying to trigger a bigger move on a higher time frame, if you see a setup potentially developing on a higher time frame, that can influence your exit strategy, basically. For me, it does. But if you don't really know what you're looking for there, that can also just complicate things. So in that case, you're better off just focusing on the 1. That delta sure is still rising very steadily and strong. This delta candle is thicker than this one that was tapering, so that is an impulsive breakout move entry. However, it is in that power zone. I don't like to take those in the power zone. A lot of times with those strong momentum moves to the upside, it just takes longer for it to put the brakes on, which is probably what we're seeing here. Now that delta is tapering back down. I went ahead and jumped in a short on this tick down here. It is risky though, so we'll see how we go here. I'm in at 583. Stop above the high. That delta is getting stronger again. Yeah, it just took me out. I knew that one was a little risky with that strong delta, but that's part of trading. This delta candle is thicker than that one, so again, this is an impulsive breakout move from the playbook. It is quite the strong move here. Like I was saying earlier, this is it is a valid long setup. I don't like taking them up here in this power zone. The probability on those is just a little bit less than if it was like, you know, lower. So like if the signal came down and we ticked up like in this area, that would be, I'd be more interested in something like that. Looks like we're making a run for that pivot line, which is up here at 20,627. So if any of you guys did take one of those impulsive breakout entries. That's a good take profit point up there. On the 15, we are getting a little bit of momentum back in that delta. You want to see this delta climb back above that chop box. We did tick up above the delta, which is a good positive sign for the bulls on the 15. We're just not quite there yet to call that bullish. We're also ticking up on the hourly. But on the hourly, we still have this negative slope on the delta. And we are sort of alternating here, positive to negative to positive. So on the hourly, it's technically chop, which means you still have a lot of smooth moves on the 1 and the 5, even when the hourly is chopping. But on the hourly, the delta is above that confirmation line, so technically, I guess we're bullish over there. I'll go ahead and flip the hourly to bullish. We just need that 15 to fall in line, and then we're in full bull mode. I had my key levels turned off. I didn't even know this, notice this till now, but where I took that long, that was right on top of the daily open. So this yellow line there, it's the daily open. That's a significant level. So had I seen that, I for sure would have went long there. I did go long there. I'm just saying. I certainly would have went long there had I saw that daily open. We did get a tick down underneath the delta on the 1. Looks like that delta's starting to roll over a little bit. It's still not good enough to short. In order to short that, we would want to see this delta start to round down like this gain that negative slope to it and potentially have the signal come down, come back up a little bit, and then tick down with a negative delta at that point. If the delta is negative and weak, that is a delta squeeze setup to short. But as long as the delta remains flat and positive, you typically don't want to short that. It means the buyers are still in control. We just got our second lower high. Tick down under the delta. That delta's really starting to taper. So you could potentially short that if you were trying to be really aggressive, but it's still not ideal. Feel better about that if it actually came up and touched that pivot line first. Yeah, that delta's gaining more strength now. You see how it never really turned down. It just kind of flattened out a little bit. Now we're starting to gain more steam to the upside. Now we are flashing our third lower high potentially. If we keep putting in these lower highs and the price keeps rising, that's bearish divergence. Something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that on the 5-minute, we have that signal line up there in the upper power zone. It's starting to tick down up there. And if this delta is tapering off when that's happening, on the 1-minute, that's setting up for a potential short there. Another thing that I should point out, and this is also from the playbook, but we have these bull flag breakout setups as well. We got the flagpole, we got the flag, 45-degree angle, and the tick up. But notice how you have this long flagpole on the first one, and then it's a little bit shorter, and then this one's probably gonna be a little bit shorter, and as they keep getting shorter and shorter, those opportunities don't look as personally. So are you guys green or red today so far? Hey, can you guys see the stream okay? I was just getting some errors on my stream up here. It said that it could be buffering. Are you guys seeing a lot of buffering? It said I had like a connection issue. HB, you're up 25 points. I'm assuming those are points. It's good. David, you're flat. That's better than being red. Yeah, I caught a couple nice ones. Pre-market, I caught this one for 75 points. That was this lower high, ticked down from the power zone. Exited on a delta cross in the green power zone. And this bullish divergence play, lower lows on the price, higher lows on the signal. That one was a nice 64 pointer. And we had these bull flag setups here. I didn't take them, but they would have worked out. Yeah, she's still running good. She actually looks like she's gaining even more steam at the moment. Those delta candles are getting fatter. We like those fat candles. Hey, if you guys haven't done so, make sure to click that like button so we could help the algorithm out. Get us in front of more viewers, potentially. Would appreciate that. Yeah, these bull flag setups were actually really nice here. Usually you get the long pull and then a shorter pull and then it gets shorter and shorter, but in this case, this last one was really nice. So we had our consolidation here and then our tick up. So this is all detailed in the playbook. So once you map that out, you wait for this tick up. As long as you still have that bullish momentum here, enter long. And in this case, you'd be up about 50 points right now. It's kind of hard for me to do that with this pivot line right here because I kept expecting this to want to act as some resistance there and roll back down. Plus, you know, once you're up in this upper power zone, it's hard to keep going long there. Unless you're in a sustained uptrend, then you can keep going long all day there. But at that point, it hadn't really proved that we're in a sustained uptrend. So, but now it is starting to prove that out. And we look at the 5, those delta candles on the 5 are still gaining momentum. They're still getting thicker and thicker. So the buyers are still pouring in. We're above the chop box now on our 15. And the Delta candle is also above that confirmation line, so we can finally flip our 15 to bullish. And now we are officially in full bull territory. I was kind of expecting today to be more of a sideways day since we didn't really have any news. There's no big news tomorrow either, so. But this is actually looking pretty good. Wow, she's still climbing. Climbing high. See where we could potentially be going here. Let's go back to the 15. Oh yeah. We ended up making that double bottom we were talking about earlier. So yeah, she could cruise up here. Might go on a sustained uptrend for the rest of the day. Let's check out the hourly. Go ahead and mark out this order block on the hourly. Go back to the 15. Well, she is looking pretty bullish. Back on the 1 now. Yeah, that would be killer. See how this delta has just remained really consistent and strong all throughout this move. It's kind of rare to see it do that. If it wasn't so rare, I would have probably held longer than I did, but hey, I got my piece, so I should be grateful. Just curious what this would look like had we held through this whole thing. Oh, that's your 170 points that you were talking about. Yeah. Yep. That would be a beautiful move. If these delta candles were thicker than this, I would have held through that. Let's see if I could find an example of that. You know, like these down here. See how these were really thick to the downside? And so I held longer and I got out on this delta cross here. If we would have remained that thick over here, I definitely would have held on to that. The tick down that we were pointing out earlier on the 5 was never official. Looks like now it's trying to tick down again. We'll see if those delta candles taper on the 5. Starting to see more tapering on the 1. We'll see if she sets up another bull flag here. A tick down on the 5 is finally official. It's still very bullish on the 5 though, so it's not really shorting territory right there. If you wanted to try a quick scalp, could potentially get in on that 8 SMA for maybe a quick short, but it's really risky because it's been so strong. Yeah, it's looking like it just wants to power right through. We're getting a tick up in the red zone. Delta's gaining a little bit more strength, so those buyers are coming back. Hey, how does my my audio sound? Am I distorted at all at any point? I just looked at my audio levels and it's showing I'm kind of red. I don't know what that sounds like on your end. If I'm too loud, I can turn it down a little bit. Super smooth. Okay, good. Something to watch for here. We do have a negative slope on the delta now. If we tick down, it looks like it's starting to flash a tick down here. If that delta starts turning negative, that is a potential short setup. Delta squeeze scenario. I'd still keep a relatively short leash on it as long as the 5 minutes still looking really bullish if you do decide to enter that. And still not official yet. We have not ticked down. Something to watch for though. Let's see here. Still not official. Yeah, I'm starting to see the delta flash negative right there, which means that the buyers and sellers are right there on the fence. We are getting that tick down underneath. Keep in mind that this has been very bullish though, so any shorts here are still relatively risky, but it is a short. Well, not yet. Still not official. See, at the last second, it oh, now it finally ticked down. Now it's official. I went ahead and took that there. That's why I always wait for the candle close. Keep in mind, this is a bull flag, so it's kind of a risky setup here. My early exit is a tick up from here. Which would also be a bull flag breakout entry. So that's, if you are short, that's something you can flip long on. And that's exactly what just happened. So I'm out here. Looks like I lost 5.5 points on that one. And I did flip long there when I exited. So I'm in at 683.50. Again, the reason why I entered is because this is a bull flag breakout setup. However, that delta, I want to see the buyer step back in and that delta to get thicker. I want to see that start to turn back up. Right now, it's still pretty thin. When it's thin, it could go either way. It's starting to tick back down. Delta's starting to flash negative again. We did tick down right at my break even. I went ahead and pulled the plug. So that's a break even for me. Delta does look like it wants to start rounding back up. So if we tick back up here and that delta starting to thicken, I will jump back in. But we're so far extended that it's a little, you know, once that delta starts to thin out like that, it gets pretty risky. So if you want to wait for a better setup, that's probably not a bad idea. You know, this entire time, we haven't even touched the 21 on this entire move. That's the top of this green line right here. So I feel like we're kind of due for it to at least retest the 21. We are starting to tick back up on the 5. 5's still looking really strong. That delta is still very thin. It's starting to flash negative now. Those delta squeeze setups, you know, where I went short here, if they fail, or if the first and second one fails, it's usually not a good idea to keep trying those, because if it was going to go, it would have went then. If it fails, that tells me that this wants to go into more of a sustained uptrend. And at that point, you should just stop with the shorts altogether and just look for the long setups. Speaking of long setups, we do have this potential bull flag breakout here. The delta is starting to turn back up, which is positive. We're also ticking up from that red zone. I don't know. Still kind of risky, though, because I feel like these bull flags might at least need to come back and retest the 21 or the 50 first. I always want to watch for a failed bull flag breakout if you do enter into one of those. Another thing to think about is we've made a significant move up, and a lot of times after a significant move, it just wants to chop sideways for a while. There we go. We're flashing that negative delta again, then negative delta. We never did get that bull flag breakout set up here. I mean, after the one that I tried taking. We never did get a tick up after that. Looks like now we're finally going to retest that 21 at least. So just more consolidating here. We'll see what the 10 o'clock candle does here. It's in 4 minutes. That delta is officially negative now. It's very thin. Still sitting on top of that 21. Now see, when we got that, or when I went long there on this bull flag breakout setup, the fact that we ticked down right here, that's where I pulled the plug at break even. Now if I would have tried to hold through that, you see I'd be at a loss right now. So that's why I prefer to keep my losses small to break even by using these, you know, the tick ups or tick downs. If they tick down against me and I'm underwater or break even, it looks like it doesn't have enough momentum to keep pushing, it's better to just pull the plug and exit early. That delta is looking like it wants to start rolling down now below that confirmation line. That could be the beginning of a potential down move here. We'll see. We did officially close under that 21 now. We are ticking up from the green zone. That delta still looks pretty... it's negative, but it's really thin. So if we still have momentum on the higher time frames to the upside, this is a potential long entry here. Delta's starting to flash positive now. That's what we want to see. You want to get in when it's kind of teetering, but you want to put the probability in your favor. So we did tick up there from the green zone, so I went long. I'm in at 681.25. What I don't like about this setup is the delta, it looks like it wants to cross under that confirmation line. So if we tick down here, it might tick down and then tick back up with a higher low on the signal. But we'll see if we can push here. My bots are going off in crypto land. See what Bitcoin's doing right now. Oh, nice. Bitcoin's making a move to the upside. Looked a little sketchy earlier. It kind of dipped back down into here. I went long here. Let's tick up from the lower power zone. But things are looking good again. Back above 92. Kevin Pardo, hello, just found your channel over the weekend and I'm very keen on trying out this strat. Thanks for the content. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Have you downloaded the playbook? All the details for all the setups that I'm using are in that playbook. Keep in mind, Delta's still relatively weak here, so we want to see it. It's starting to flash positive, but we need to see the buyer step in here, or we're going to pull the plug early again. So far, so good. Signal's back in the red zone. We want to see it keep climbing here. We don't want to see it tick down. Been watching your videos and the videos on the Zeiierman page. I'll check it out. Cool, yeah. Check it out. Let us know if you have any questions. That delta, you always want to keep your eye on this delta to see what's going on. I mean, that's really what tells you who's in control, or whether or not the market conditions are unfavorable to trade. So right now we have this thin delta. We did alternate from positive to negative to positive, so I went ahead and put my chop box on there. So you want to see it break out of this chop box. You want to see either the buyers or the sellers step in and make something happen. If it's just going to go sideways, then I will probably end up hanging it up. But that's also the beauty of this indicator, is you can see that. So it's kind of like having special glasses to see what's happening behind the scenes. So if you see that, you know, there's no conviction to either side, and it's about that time for chop to set in, and right now it's 10 o'clock. So, you know, typically we'll make a decent move from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, and then we'll start getting more sideways action after that. Central time. I'm on Central time. So if you watch for that, I mean, to me, that's more important than knowing when to get in and out of trades. You know, knowing when to stay out of the market altogether is, that to me is one of the most important things that not many people talk about. We're starting to get a tick down. It's flashing anyway in that red zone. So it hasn't really made any headway. So instead of pulling the plug, I'm just going to go ahead and move my stop to break even, since I am in the profit a little bit. If I wanted to secure for sure profit, I would just go ahead and flatten right here. Well, if we tick down. We haven't officially ticked down yet. Keeping our eye on it, though. All right, the buyers step back in there at the last minute. It's also why I wait for the candle close, because things can change drastically in the last like 5 seconds of a candle. Starting to get that positive slope back on that delta, which is good to see. There we go. The buyers are trying. Can they keep pushing? We did just take out that previous high, so you also want to watch out for a liquidity sweep. But so far, everything is still looking bullish. I'm going to go ahead and trail a little bit just to ensure profit. Because we did get that tick down in the upper power zone there. It's kind of hard to see, but It did tick down. That delta is still really thin. You want to see those buyers really step in and bring some momentum back to the market here. Otherwise, we're probably just going to stop out. Well, they're trying. Trailed too close, stopped out. Well, this is not a bad thing if you're in profit, because the market is looking relatively weak here. My stop is under this wick here. This one. See my dotted line? So it's down there. It came close, but didn't take me out yet. She's still trying to climb, just kind of grinding upwards here. We're getting our next lower high from that upper power zone. Delta's still relatively weak. Not really liking that. I'm going to flatten. I also went ahead and flipped short there, which is risky because we're still grinding up. However, it is in this upper power zone. That delta is still so weak. Figured I'd give it a shot, be a little more aggressive. 690.50 is where I'm in. Now, this technically is not a delta squeeze setup, because in order for that to be a delta squeeze, you really have to have that delta rolling over like this. And preferably negative. It doesn't have to be negative. Prefer it to be negative. It did tick against me here. I'm still in, but looks like I'm probably going to get stopped out. The delta's still pretty... Well, it's gaining a little strength now. A little bit. All right, yeah, it just took me out. I would have been better off had I got out on that tick up against me. So right here, see that tick up? I would have lost half as much as I did had I got out there. So looks like 11.25. Oh, I forgot to add that winner on there. Looks like that was 9 3/4. There we go. Yeah, you know, see, it pays to be patient for these delta squeeze setups. Like I said, this explains my loss here. This still had that positive slope to it. In order for it to be a delta squeeze, you want it to start to get that negative slope, and you want the delta to start to turn negative, and then you want to take that tick down from that red zone. It's also putting in a little bit of bearish divergence here. We have higher highs on the price and lower highs on the signal. See, now it's starting to roll over a little bit there on the delta. I think I just jumped the gun on that one. Like I said, this is the time when we could just start chopping sideways and not really go any direction. So you want to watch out for that. Another thing to keep in mind, like what I said earlier about taking the first or maybe the second delta squeeze and then stop taking them after that. That's because if the first or the second fails, then it starts to prove that it wants to go into more of a sustained trend, even though it could be really grindy, which is like what we're experiencing right now. As long as this delta stays in this upper power zone and it keeps kind of grinding upwards, it's a market condition that I really don't like. I would rather just kind of step away and maybe be done for the day if that's what it's going to do. I just really don't like those grindy moves to the upside or downside. I much prefer these momentum moves. So and you can see that in the delta candles. So see how we're super thin and spotty right now? That tells me that the market might be done. We'll hold out a little bit longer and see what it does here, but you could still make money on those sustained grindy trends, but for me, the wins typically end up being smaller, so sometimes it's not worth it. Now, I'd feel more comfortable about a short if we saw a delta squeeze playing out on the 5-minute. Now, that could be a really nice move to the downside. So if we see this delta on the 5 start to roll over like this, and then right in this area start to turn negative, just has to flash negative, and then have the signal line pull down, pull back up a little bit, and tick down right there. Right there. If you had a delta squeeze set up on the 1 and that was setting up on the 5, that could be a really nice move. So that's definitely something you want to enter on. But right now they're sort of in disagreement. You have the signal above the delta on the 5. The 5 still has really consistent delta candles to the upside. It looks pretty strong. 15 still pretty strong. So as long as the 5 looks like that, your best bet is going to be longs. But if it's this grindy, choppy action, you could still be right on the direction and still lose money. I will be right back. What are we doing here? It's riding that 21 EMA, using that as support. See if it keeps holding. We do have that higher low on the signal, but I'm done taking the shorts for now unless I see a short setup on the 5-minute. We do have a bit of a trend line consolidation here. And we are getting a, Looks like almost a higher low on the signal in the red zone. I think at this point I would call this a sustained uptrend. So this is a potential long entry here with this trend line break. Still want to see those delta candles thicken up though. I'm in long at 705.25. I want to see more conviction in that delta though. There's just not a lot of buyers stepping up. Not yet anyway. Maybe after this retest they'll step back in. Looking good so far. Still looking a little weak, but yeah. Went ahead and exited at break even there because we got this tick down underneath the delta from the upper power zone. The delta's still weak, so better to keep your losses small and protect what you have. Delta's starting to turn negative now. See, it was too weak for that price action to continue upwards. So maybe it just needs a little bit of a pullback, maybe to the 50. And maybe we keep grinding after that. We'll see. Not a fan of this this price action right now, though. I feel like it's put in its move. And sure, there's probably a lot more upside. But this delta is just too thin and weak for me. So I think, you know, it's Monday. I think I'm probably just going to call it here, and I think I'm going to be done for the day here at 120 points profit. That's still a pretty good day. I will be on here tomorrow, same time, 8:40 a.m. Central Time. So good luck. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Oh, wow, look at that move. It's like one of those big Delta candles. I mean, who even trades those tiny candles anymore? I like big fat candles, I can't deny. When the Delta's green and riding high, when a chart spikes thick with a bullish wick, I'm glued to my screen, that's the trick. I want to pound split, can't let it go. Big Delta bars, let that volume show. I'm zooming out, yeah, that's my groove. Catching waves in a Delta move. Wanna trade slow? Nah, too tame. This market's got heat, I'm in the game. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got entries, stacking tall, no weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big Delta's not golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're a bore. Give me fat Deltas, I want more. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. Don't you fold. Big Deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. I like big fat candles, can't deny. When the volume surges up so high, skinny trades can take a seat. Big fat Deltas are what I beat. Well, traders low, let me see that life is cause I'm my happy. Delta skinny, not my taste. Fat candles on my happy place. Oh, traders, let me see that line. When the buyers push, I feel just fine. It's the fat move, no squeeze fake. I'm in this trend with no break. Got entries, stacking tall, no weak signals, I'm all in, y'all. Skinny candles just ain't for me. Big Delta's my golden key. Big Delta's my golden key. Sitting tight while volume pops. Green wave up won't make me stop. Short candles, nope, they're a bore. Give me fat Deltas, I want more. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. And hold and play, don't you fold. Big Deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make it right. Like those thick moves, yeah, yeah. I wanna break through, you know. Then hold, then play, don't you fold. Big Deltas fill the chart with might. Skinny moves don't make